Hello, people. I want to give an updated view of what I think of Andrew Tate. First of all, let's start with the thing that is absolutely true. He's a toxic metaframer. A toxic metaframer is somebody who tries to push others down. For example, with his brother. While some people might think it's funny, it's actually not. And I might go into explaining it in detail if anybody's interested. But for example, if he says you're the biggest loser ever, that's actually a toxic metaframe. And Tristan doesn't like that at all, but he over toxic metaframes over his brother because he doesn't know how to get out of that toxic relationship. Because toxic metaframing is the core pillar of a toxic relationship. So, in a sense, Tristan and Andrew have a toxic relationship without recognizing it, where Andrew Tate is the perpetrator and Tristan is the victim. Who toxic metaframes on a constant basis? Narcissists. Gaslighting is part of also of the dynamic. Only once you escape that dynamic, you realize what I'm talking about. Anybody who's been in a toxic relationship where one person is a toxic metaframer knows what I'm talking about. To pretend that it doesn't have an effect on you is an absolute lie. If I told you every day you are a loser, you're not doing anything right, um, and even if it's just once or twice per day, it you will not be not affected by it, and Tristan is affected by it. The problem is that they have a very close relationship because they're brothers and they were raised in a difficult situation. So what happens is they have what I call codependency or an asynchronous dependency relationship, meaning they are in love with each other as brothers in terms of heart to heart relationship. But when Andrew Tate puts Tristan down, Tristan doesn't feel good, and you can see it very clearly in some videos. Now he might pretend for some time that it doesn't bother him, because he's unconscious of what's going on. I've been in a relationship like that, and I know what it is. I see it. I'm an expert on this field. A lot of people listening to this video will not understand what I'm talking about because it needs a certain high vibration. Now, the next thing that I will say is that certain things that have been said by, I know from Tristan, for example, are absolutely, in my book, a no go. One of the things was, for example, that he says that he regularly deflowers virgins, so 2 or 3 times a year, and that he teaches a course on how to manipulate virgins in order for other men to deflower them and drop them. And that might seem funny to some men, but it's actually extremely, extremely hateful towards other people and especially women. It's a very bad energy. So, why they might think themselves as warriors, actually, they're building very bad karma, insanely bad karma in their soul and energy field. And it's not by coincidence that they will very likely end up in jail. Because karma works its way. God knows how to deal with things. So, and if not in this life, it might be in the next. And then comes the next part is there's a lot of things to talk about, but something else also is that spirituality is actually completely lacking in their viewpoint. There is no talk about anything spiritual whatsoever in what they say. It's all on the material plane. It's all about what can I get and the hedonism in this earthly plane. And the problem with this is that by any kind of teaching, we know that anybody who pretends that that is the solution to anything is actually lying. And for all we know, it might be that they're actually really suffering. We don't know that. And you cannot know that. You can watch a million videos, you will never know what they're really going through. A narcissist, interestingly enough, a perpetrator, can live their whole life believing that they're actually a force of good. They're perfect in brainwashing themselves. And Andrew Tate is a primary example of perfectly brainwashing himself. He's actually even saying it, he's convinced about it. Now, I have an IQ which is probably higher than Tate. I'm not as good as a communicator, or at least on par with Tate. But I realize that spiritual awakening is far more important, and it far outweighs anything else that you can experience on the mental plane. And as long as men are so stupid to follow what Andrew Tate teaches, they will not come into the full fruition of this potential spiritual growth. It's actually a form of delusion and a trance which makes you concentrate only on these materialistic things. And it's actually impregnated of fear, anger, jealousy. It's all included in there. Look at Tate, what he does. I mean, the reason why he does what he does because he's afraid. He's afraid of what would happen if he truly loves, if he truly lets go, if he truly opens up. He is trying to project the tough person because he's afraid of losing. And that is, in my view, the real truth. He's afraid of being a loser. And that afraidness sticks on you. It sticks on you until the end of life, unless you realize that you are pure consciousness which cannot lose anything.